What's up, guys? We're back for another episode. Coleman, how was the expo?
What an expo it was. It was one of the best shows we've ever experienced, if not the best. I don't know. There's so much to talk about it. There's so much to say. It was just an absolute great experience. Adrian, how did you feel? Thoughts?
That expo it felt long, but in a good way. Like it was just like start to finish, high energy, high foot traffic, lots of deals left and right that like I don't even know where to begin if like to debrief the show. It was so good on all levels, and it was just so nice to see the hobby alive and well.
Yeah, exactly. I think one easy thing we can start, let's start on Thursday. Nice and easy. So Thursday setup day, we got there, we got ready. It was so nice to see so many other vendors during setup that we hadn't seen since last expo, or we only get a few opportunities during the year to see. So I think that was really nice to be able to see them and be able to chat and just catch up. Thursday overall was a really good day. When we normally think about Thursday, especially at the expos, it's very not slow, but it's not as busy as the rest of the day. So I feel like it's more of time you get to walk around, you get to explore the floor and everything and see what everyone has to offer. Thursday, I found it was packed. I thought there was a lot more foot traffic on the Thursday. There was a lot more anticipation, a lot more energy, and we couldn't leave our booth. We were swamped all Thursday with buying and selling. And I think that is something that kind of just gave us an idea of what the weekend had to come.
I completely agree. This was actually something that our friend Kyle at Comps Lie told us is that the audience that shows up on Thursday tends to be your bigger fish, the big sharks, the guys looking for big bombs, big cards, big nukes. Those are the guys that were showing up on Thursday and Friday, and boy, did they show up.
Yeah. There was
The floor
tons
looks so different.
Yeah, there was tons of people there and tons of money that was looking to be injected into the hobby. We just look at there were so many people that we saw this weekend and so many people who had so many great things to say about the hobby and kind of how they're working it and how their relationships in the hobby just keep growing. It was so great to see so many returning clients and so many returning customers. We've seen expos past and past and also just meet so many great new people. I know there's so many new relationships that were built over this expo and so many relationships that were just reestablished and fortified really. But I think Expo is such an amazing time of the year, and Thursday was just overall such a great day to start off to leading into Friday. And Friday, we got there, we got ready to go, and it was a busy Friday. And again, we're going to be saying this a lot. The people, the energy compared to Expo's past, it was different. It was just a lot bigger people. There was bigger amounts of energy in the room and more people looking to buy and more people looking to spend. I think that overall, we are going to see more and more of that going forward. More people looking to get involved, more people looking to get injected into the hobby. The one thing I learned a lot is that it was tons of people's either first card show or first big card show. And I think that says a lot because the Toronto Expo can be a little intimidating and a little big sometimes. And I feel like lots of people were eager to explore it and eager to be involved in it.
100%. And I think too, it did seem like, and while talking to a lot of the guys, especially in the GTA scene, is a lot of the guys we see regularly haven't been taking the hobby that seriously until this year. So for a lot of those guys, this was their first like super serious expo for them as they were walking the floor and making deals and moving some stuff around. So I think like going into April, it'll be another completely different show as everyone's got like their first major expo under their belt. A lot of the guys that we see on a regular basis here in the GTA are going to be bringing in new big cards, looking for new big bombs, just like left and right. And like I just remember walking the floor before the show opened on Thursday, and the amount of mega hits that we were seeing out on the floor was just insane. There was so many shields, tons of one-on-ones, tons of patches. The Relics had out the Panini Prism Crosby one-of-one auto that King of Cards picked up. They made a major deal on that one. And then going into Friday, just all of a sudden, all of those were gone. So much movement happened. They were either at another booth. It was just so much money and cards moved on that first day that it is a must do next April. Like you have to be there on Thursday.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that some people maybe as you said, if they weren't looking for those grail pieces, if they weren't super serious into the hobby, they kind of looked over Thursday. But I think Thursday and Friday as well were such great days to really start off, and really people were hunting for what they wanted and they knew what they wanted. And the thing is, those cards went fast. And like the amount of times someone would come see a card, come back in 20 minutes to pick it up because they said they were going to go look around, it was gone. And you want people to get the cards they want, but on Thursday, Friday, especially at the expo, it goes fast. And cards, you see them in 1 second and they're gone the next. And just like Adrian said, they can rotate booth to booth. They can rotate from hands to hands. There are cards that rotate hands so many times throughout that weekend, and that's just the way Expo goes. And that's what's so great about it is there's so many opportunities to pick up cards, to sell cards, to trade cards. And I think that leads right into Saturday. Saturday was officially the busiest day in Expo I've ever seen. And there was times at the booth where it was 3 or 4 people deep in rows and there was no movement along the edges. And it was something that just it felt so great, and it was such a great experience to see that the hobby has shifted kind of into this place. And Adrian, I know you were just a couple 10, 15 feet away from us and they split us up, but what was the scenario and kind of the feelings like over at your booth on Saturday? Was it as jam packed? Was it as busy? Were people still looking to spend the cash? I feel like lots of people were spending, they were selling cards, and then they were putting it right back into the hobby, into something else.
Yeah, the Saturday's foot traffic was definitely the largest. We noticed, well, before the expo even started, us at Juice Labs, we had our running jokes of usually I'm the one who runs the table and the boys love running the floor. But Thursday, Friday, Saturday was so busy, the guys couldn't leave the booth. We had to have two people there at all times. It was the only way possible for us to get anything done because there were so many people. The other big difference was that we noticed from Friday to Saturday is Saturday, the demographic changed and people were looking for a lot more smaller cards. The dollar bins were on fire on Saturday. Lots of cards were moving from there, but it was definitely a demographic change where we kind of had to move some of our lower end or more affordable cards to the front of the showcase so that people could find cards easier that they were looking for. But it was also nice for us to have some of our big eye catchers out. And that was actually one of the things we did do on that first day was we put together some of our monumentals and we had 2 out of 3 success on that. And we had a
Nice.
Slavkovsky monumental, a Wyatt monumental, and a Willie Nylander monumental. And both the Slav and Wyatt moved in those first 2 days.
It's crazy.
And that's a big tip, I think, for new vendors that are coming out to the expo is you do need to have an eye catcher in your display case. And so I know for you, it was the big oil drop out of 3. That one's a big one that pops, or the double Wyatt blacks. Like those are 2 cards where when you're looking at all these shiny, bright cards, all of a sudden there's 2 black cards in the middle and you're like, what's that? You know, those play such a huge role in helping draw people into looking at more of your cards.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was one thing that a lot of people they were drawing their eyes to certain cards and asking questions about certain things. And I think that overall just that made people more intrigued about what we were doing and what cards we had and that. And tons of people were asking questions about different things. And that's one of the great things about it is being able to converse and being able to really help people and direct them in certain ways. Had a lot of people ask a lot of questions on how we collect, how we buy, and how we what we do. I was lucky enough to do an interview for a documentary on that. So we'll get that to you eventually once it's all edited and done. But I feel like there was a lot of great opportunities to learn throughout the weekend, and including for us. We learned a lot from other dealers, from other people, and we learned off each other as well. And I think that's one of the great things about Expo is there's 4 days in a row where you get to wake up, you get to attend a card show, and it's a new day. There's new sales, there's new people, and each and every single day provides a new opportunity. There was just Saturday was so busy with seeing so many people, again, so many different vendors, so many different people who we've seen in the past. I don't know, just walking around the show floor, it was great to see all the love that was being put in. There were so many great booths, whether it was corporate booths or one of the major stores or small vendors. Everybody put their effort in and put their best foot forward. And I think that's one of the things. If the vendors keep providing and the vendors keep bringing these monsters, like there were some of these cards where you would never see them anywhere else in the world except for at Toronto Expo. And I think that's why we're so lucky and so blessed to have the opportunity to see these cards in person, and they're not locked away somewhere in some PC where we never get to experience them. Upper Deck had an absolutely amazing booth just displaying everything, and they had some great kind of a range of cards that were out. Pather always has a great booth. Mintink. The list goes on and on and on people who had amazing setups this past weekend. Yeah, it was overall just a really great experience. And one thing I guess we didn't talk about was PSA grading, Beckett grading. We saw a ton of that. Shout out to ND Cards for me and subbing all my stuff and getting that in. It was an absolute crazy expo for subbing for people. Like, I saw the line every single morning. Soon as the doors open, nonetheless, people come running in and lining up at PSA and Beckett just to drop their cards off.
Yeah, the PSA line was almost full every time the doors opened. Guys were going straight there. So many of my friends, graded on the fly. It was pretty cool. The Silver Outburst PSA 10 of Ivan Demidov came by the table. Seeing cards like that pop up on the fly is just incredible. And it's just like speaking to the hobby of how much guys have been waiting to grade because of the delays that have been going on with the tariffs and the backlog. It wasn't really worth it for some people to send it prior. So people waited for the expo to send in some of these big hitting cards. It's crazy to me that they don't do this at both the spring and the fall. It's a big missed opportunity in my opinion with how much revenue it drives.
Well, I know, and it's something that I talked a little bit with ND about and kind of picked Eric's ear about it and kind of asked him, why don't they do it? And I think it's something that possibly will change in the future. Because as you said, the demand is there. They were busy from open to close and they were grading hundreds, if not thousands of cards over the weekend. And I think that just we don't get this many opportunities in Canada to have on-site grading, especially by PSA. We're lucky enough that Beckett comes to both the spring and the fall Toronto Expo, but PSA is only at the fall. And I think they're missing out on a huge market in Canada. And by not being at the Spring Expo, all they're doing is pushing more and more people to put their cards into Beckett slabs. Um, and I think if it wasn't shown this weekend how big of an opportunity and how big of a market share Canada can actually be if pursued correctly, then I don't know what will, because people showed out, people graded, people bought, people sold. There was just overall so many people inside the building over the weekend, and I'm excited to finally get the numbers and kind of see what. But I heard attendance was up across the board over every day and just over the show overall.
Yeah, speaking of Beckett, one thing that some people might not have heard about was the whole raw review situation that happened with Beckett. Beckett, there's a rumor going around that they met with someone on the Wednesday night, or someone big, few people might have gone to them on the Wednesday night and just bought all their raw review for the weekend. They didn't offer any raw review in the lineup. And it's crazy that people were able to cut the line like that, or, put in such a big submission, because you let down so many other people who were there waiting for it. Mind you, the price that they were offering was wild, like $40 for raw review, any card, like B grade, whatever, or insurance bump. Like, that's a wild deal that everyone was probably waiting to hop on. So it makes sense that somebody took advantage, but you got to think, you got to put a limit on that, right? Like, you can't let one group sell out the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that's a big disappointment on Beckett's behalf, especially for everyone that I talked to. Like, I know PJ, he was the first in line at Beckett, ready to drop stuff off, and they weren't even accepting it. And I think it's kind of ridiculous that you're offering these services and promoting them and then not to actually offer them at the show because one of your biggest clients or whoever drops off a large lot of cards. I think that there should be, and not saying that they shouldn't be able to drop all of them off, but there should be allocation for the show. I just think it's crazy that one person or one group can do that before the show even starts, not even give the opportunity to other people in the building to have that chance. And I think that's something that maybe needs to be looked at because at the end of the day, people pay to come. A lot of people are looking to grade cards, and that's a huge bonus at Expo is being able to raw review your cards. And I know a lot of people missed out. I know people who had 15, 20 cards they were looking to do, or one or two. And they were really disappointed when they learned that. And actually, it turned some people away from BGS. just to go to a different grading company. I think they might have lost out on potential sales and potential new slabs in the market because they weren't offering that service.
100%. And it's hopefully they'll learn for next time. And, it's different next time too, especially they'll be the only ones doing on-site grading in April. As we say that in pencil, we don't know if PSA might change their plans, but the current plans is just Beckett, which makes Beckett a higher priority. So if this were to happen when they're the only ones doing on-site grading, I think that would be a very upsetting thing for the hobby and the people who are there trying to get their cards graded.
Yeah, well, again, at the end of the day, we look at it. Beckett is only in Canada once, twice a year. It's not like you're at a show every weekend like it is in the US. You can't fly to another state and get your cards graded. In Canada, we have two opportunities. That's it. And I feel like they're kind of putting a sour taste in some Canadians' mouths. And I feel like that next expo, hopefully they're able to turn it around because that's one of the great things is raw review. Raw review is a great opportunity to not spend the full money on grading but be able to have an idea of what your card is. And I think more and more people you see are going to be transferring over. You saw more and more people doing Mint Raw review this weekend because Beckett wasn't. I've never seen more cards in Mint Raw review, but I think people were just looking for that grading advice without because Beckett wasn't offering it.
Speaking of mint, you saw GP's showcase of William Nylander Cup RPAs with 75% of them graded with mint. That was a huge collection he took in.
Yeah.
And it was just funny to see all of them in their mint slabs.
Yeah, I think you wanna know what? It like the collection to see it in person was really, really nice to see. There's so many great cards in it. There was nice patches, there was great autos, there was just to see that many of William Nylander's Cup RPAs in one place was really nice to see. The jersey number was there. There was gold RPAs, there was white patches, there was two color patches, there was nice patches, there was a mix of everything. And I think that's really something special that the only place you would be able to see that is at Expo.
Question for you. So, I'm a big Nylander guy. I know you're big on him too now, but I've always, as soon as I saw Grant pick up this collection, I've been staying away from the Cup RPA because to me, it scares me when I see one person have that much of that one card, like the Cup RPA specifically. It's just like the biggest card. But, that just scares me sometimes, right?
Yeah, I think it's something that you have to kind of look at and see, but it also could be seen as a good thing because there's only so much that can be done at one time. It would be pretty difficult to offload those all at once, I would say. So I think like you would, if you are holding, let's say, and there is a little bit of flow in the market, you are able to get rid of it. But I think that with anything, you never know where things are, and we could be sitting here and some guy has 100 Knives Cup RPAs or 100 or 50 to Chucks or whatever. But seeing it was very impressive, but it does make you think, what happens to the market? Is the market just being controlled in that way? Or how does the market kind of go from there when so much of it is held in one collection? But I think it's a great thing for the hobby, and it's a great thing to be able to see that and see all the different variations. We always say, oh, what about this patch versus this patch? Well, if you looked in that case, you could see all different types of patches that are like able to be on those cup RPAs, and it was just something that you never get to see.
Yeah. The way you could compare patches was my favorite part about it.
Mhm.
And to be honest, I'm hitting myself in the back of the head myself just because, like, I don't know how I just almost complained about someone owning so much of one card because I think at one point I owned 50% of the Joseph Wool acetates in the market that exist.
There
And,
you go.
like, I did the same thing, but it's just sometimes, I guess, sometimes multiples gets a fascination going and you just love it.
I don't know if we want to maybe move into some of our favorite pickups from the weekend, some of our deals. I know there was tons of them, brought back way too many cards, sold so many cards, but I think I've narrowed it down to 8 cards of mine that I found were most special to me or some of my favorites. Maybe not the most expensive, but just things that I really liked and really enjoyed picking out. Adrian, I don't know if you want to start or
Yeah, I mean, we could go back and forth on this first one. I know we both picked up a lot of the same guy. One that walked up to my booth out of complete surprise on the very first day was this bad boy here as we speak about acetates. The Willie Nylander acetate. That was a big pickup for me.
and
And
I'll
then
into the Nylander.
we went crazy with the Nylanders. You have picked up a Future Watch 10. You picked up the 9.5 Future Watch Auto inscribed. I picked up the 9.5 Future Watch Auto patch. We both went big on Nylander.
He's going to be big. Speaking of Leafs,
Matthew Nyes Cup RPA, couldn't go wrong. I owned one of those for a whole probably 3 hours this weekend.
more Leafs. I know I've talked about in the past how I have the BGS 9.5 Matthews exclusives. I had to pair it up. Now I have the BGS 9 exclusives as well. Both are for sale, but two pieces that I'm really happy to have in the collection.
I followed you with the Austin rookie pickups. I picked up the Black Lustrous rookie auto out of 99, and I matched that with the patch auto Obsidian. I love the black on gold from that year.
I will go into another one. I have Jack Eichel, Cup RPA. Very nice. He's having a very good start to the season. I think he's going to keep playing well throughout the year.
I stayed with the Leafs, and I got John Tavares Future Watch Auto patch, nasty patch.
I will say shout out to Mustache Collector for both of these. We have two Joe Pavelski Cup RPAs, one with the beautiful patch, the other one also with the beautiful patch, but in a BGS 9.5.
I love the teal on the 9.5. That's what
Something
gets
you
me
don't
there.
see every day, especially the old Cup RPAs in a nice grade like that.
My last two, this one was a first day pickup on Thursday. I saw it and I just said, I have to have it. Brant Clark, 1 of 1 with a phenomenal patch
So nice.
on that bad boy right there.
I will back this up as my last card. This is a guy who I think he gets hated on a lot when he gets injured, but he always bounces back and he always plays so well. Mr. Jack Hughes, exquisite on the logo patch.
That's yucky.
This is one that I'm really excited about. I think he's going to have a monstrous season. So that was one of my favorite pickups. Adrian, to end it off.
Since we're ending it on the nukes, this bad boy right here, Connor Bedard, Future Watch Auto Tag 10.
Look at that.
It's the highest graded Tag 10 out there, and there's a pop 2 in the PSA 10.
That's beauty. Look at that.
She's a big boy.
Yeah, so thank you to everyone who either did deals with us, traded, bought, sold. It was just nonstop, and like we were just being able to pick up heat after heat. Just so many great cards, and one of the things was I was just getting a constant array of good cards, whether it was just young gun 10s of good players and that are liquid and easy to move, and people were just selling stuff at the masses just to buy more, or a lot of trading happening. So I think it's something that it was so great because there were so many people who were either looking for specific things, and that feeling of being able to help them get exactly what they want, or something they've been looking for a while was really nice.
That has been my favorite feeling over the last few months, is being able to connect collectors with their grail card that they've been looking for months and years. And it's happened with my Sidney Crosby Future Watch Auto. It happened again with the Ovechkin Future Watch Auto. And at the Expo, it happened with Logan Cooley Cup RPA and the Logan Cooley Future Watch Auto jersey number. Those went to a massive Cooley fan. We did it all in trade. So both people are happy, both parties are happy. And those are the ones that are my favorite deals. When the collector's telling me that this card's never going to see the light of day again, that makes me so happy.
Yeah. And you know what? That is such a great feeling. And speaking of that, I know I moved two of my favorite cards in my collection / inventory this past weekend. The Wyatt Rookie Monumental Shoulder Patch is gone. It is gone to an amazing home. Thank you to Luke from Quarantine Case Breaks for kind of facilitating the buyer for this. He has now 5 out of the 6 Monumentals. We are looking for the last one. If you know where the last Wyatt Monumental is, please reach out to either me, Adrian, Luke Crisby, or anyone, and we'll be happy to facilitate that. And also shout out to Mustache Collector for picking up the big oil drop this past weekend. I know it's something that'll go to his PC for a long time, so I was really happy to get a deal done with him for it.
Yeah, those are the best. And I was shocked, when that Wyatt moved. I thought that card was never going to leave your grasp. But if there was anywhere for it to go, it would be to be reunited with the other 4 and hopefully the 6th. And that's a big one that I think we're gonna help try and find, is find that last Wyatt piece for him. That's kind of one of my favorite parts about this expo, was we had a few people lined up ahead of time that had us looking for cards, and those were the deals that felt the most fulfilling, is being able to track down those cards on the card floor and getting them at good prices for our clients. That was one of my favorite parts of the expo as well, was really having people tell us what they're looking for and us being able to help them find it.
Yeah, I think that's something that's great about the expo, especially I had a lot of people come by on Thursday, Friday saying, if this comes by or if you see this, let me know. And I know it was great to be able to get some of those cards into their hands.
100%. I think one thing that I struggled with a bit, we did come prepared. We brought cases of water. We went through the water. We were fully stocked on snacks, so that wasn't bad. But they were, it was just such a long day. That Saturday, or that Friday, sorry, Friday being 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. was a grueler, and I did not eat enough. That is one thing that I'm taking away from last time, that I need to eat more next time, especially on the longest day. I think we talked about potentially ordering Uber Eats for lunch, but it got so
It
busy
got
that
so
none of us
busy.
could figure it out.
Exactly, and that's what happens, and I know that we had some great trade nights back at our hotel. I know in our room, every night we kinda had a mini trade night there. We had some people over. There was some monster cards being tossed around the room, talked about. There was some times where we had 100K out on the floor in the hotel trade night that people were just moving, and it was crazy to see some of the cards, and, again, just so thankful for everyone that was there and everyone who kind of helped out in some way. There's like so many thanks to give out, from the organizers to everyone who set up with us to everyone who just helped us out, and also everyone who supported us along the way. I feel like there was a lot of people who came up and mentioned the podcast, and I know we're super grateful about that and super grateful to hear feedback from people and kind of get an understanding of what more they want to hear and what they really want to see from us. I know 2026, we have a lot of things planned, and I know that we really want to increase the capacity on the podcast and also future shows. Like, we're looking at the next expo. We want to do next expo bigger and better. And I know there's so many things that have to be lined up properly before that happens. But I think this expo was just such a indicator on how well things can go and if you execute right. And I think it was one thing that our setup, our planning was nailed to a T. And, Adrian, thank you for that. And thank you to all the Juice guys and Greenbelt Collectibles and just everyone who helped out over the weekend.
100%. I think me and you have to have some big talks offline about what we're going to do for April. We've got some big, big plans. I know I hinted to you at some of my ideas that we could do, and hopefully we can line everything up and make them a great success. I think some of the takeaways that I think like we could tell people about is just like, I think one thing that would go a long way for a lot of people is talking to your local vendors, whoever your main guy is, or us, and talking to us about the cards that you want. I think the way that we are connected with people, it's so much easier for us to track down cards than it would be for the average collector. And whether that's even some cards is finding you the price that you're looking for. Some big cards came by the table and it said, I'm not your guy for this type of card. So like there was a few mega jumbo patches that came by my booth, and I knew that's not something that you deal with too often, not something I deal with too often, but I knew some guys in the other room and I was able to send some guys their way to make sure that, everybody was getting the cards that they're looking for. And that goes such a long way, and it makes the hobby easier and ensures that people are getting the best prices for their stuff.
No, I completely agree, and I think that that's something that we see so much, and it's something that I'm constantly reminded of at the expo is why connections in the hobby matter, and why being friends with everyone and being just a great person overall in the hobby and elevating the hobby in a way goes such a long way. And there's so many greats in the hobby and so many people who you see at expos and you're able to talk with and kind of just absorb all their knowledge and history in the hobby. There's some guys that have been doing this a long time and they have their setups to a T, and some of them are just great to learn from and great to do deals with because they understand the beginnings and they understand how things work.
I get what you're saying. Like it's just the connections that you make and the people is the biggest part about this hobby, is just people helping each other to get
Mhm.
what they're looking for. And that is what makes the hobby go round, is all of us, some of us are addicted to this hobby. Like, I'll admit, like, I spend too much time scrolling and looking for cards. I'm sure you're the same way. But that's where it's so much easier for us to be like, "Oh, you're looking for X card? Yeah, I know a guy who's got it." Like, "Yeah, I know a guy. You need it? I got it. We got it. We can get it for you."
Well, exactly. Well, and the thing is, was like we are just so dialed in. It's actually crazy. Expo night, Friday night, Adrian slept over in our hotel room. We were up till 3 a.m., 3:30, comping cards, just talking about cards, being lunatics. Cards consume me. So seriously, if there's a card that you are interested in or you're looking for, reach out to either one of us. We're happy to help facilitate it for you. We're happy to find it somehow, source it, be a middleman, whatever you need. We're more than happy to help. And I think that's one thing that's great is that there are people that really I know what they're looking for, and I have the ability when I pick something up, I send it right to them and say, "Do you want this?" And I feel like also as a dealer, that's something important to have as you learn your clientele and as you learn what their favorites are. It's nice to be able to quickly sell a card and buy a card that you know will move fastest to one of your clients and go to a good home.
That was one of my favorite nights, was that Friday night that I stayed over. That night, staying up till 3 AM, just, talking hockey. It would have been great if we clicked record and ran a podcast that night because we were so dialed in because we were in the thick of the expo. But mind you, we also just needed the break of just like brainlessly talking about it. So it probably would have made a lot of sense to people who weren't in the room because we were probably a little delirious at times. But those moments were great, watching some deals go down. Stu Cup RPA moved. The exclusive you picked up that night in the hotel room. Like, we might have people lined up at the door next year for the hotel trade night.
Yeah, so it was crazy. Speaking of that, trade nights and that, we had random people throughout the hotel who were in for the expo pop in, being like, "Oh, we heard there was a trade night. We heard this."
No, but the trade night was good. It was one of my favorite parts, and that's one of the things that I've trying to brainstorm ideas of how can we, you know, do that again, have all the boys getting to hang out after the expo when it's a much more relaxed setting without losing as much sleep as we did.
Yeah,
The 2.5 hours that we got that night was a little rough on the body the next day,
sure.
but it was such a good time. It probably helped that we were separated this expo, so we weren't spending the whole day together, which is why it was much more like energizing to hang out afterwards. We know, fingers crossed, we have been given a verbal promise that we're going to get a setup together next time. So we are very, very excited for that. Some big, big ideas. Hopefully our boys on the hat, Cap City, is going to try and set up with us next year too. And we'll see what we can do with them.
Yeah, shout out to them also all weekend long. I know they were buying heavy all weekend long. They were running breaks. They ran breaks at the Whatnot booths. They were buying crazy wax. If you're not following them, go and check out Cap City Hobbies. They run breaks every night. Jack is on there grinding every single night. So go and show them some love. They're our favorite breakers for sure. And they were at our booth, and it's always great to have them around and be able to talk to them about what they're picking up, what they're seeing on the floor, what was being hit overall. It was great to see so many people come and pick up their hits from them and also be able to buy it back and see what they're hitting in these breaks and that. So that was also something that was really cool to see.
100%. They're live now like they always are, running their skunk busters. And that's one of their favorite ones to run. And that's one of my favorite part about the hobbies is, I met those guys like 6 months ago, and now like seeing them at the expo, like felt like we were best friends. Like those are the key moments, is just like that connection and connecting with people. And that's what you love to see and you love to do, is the people. It always comes back to the people of getting to hang out with some beautiful people, some high energy, and that's the goal, right? In life is, you want to surround yourself with good people, and when you surround yourself with good people, good energy, good things happen. That's what did. The expo was full of just like magical moments, like left and right. Like, I still can't believe I went into the show wanting a big Willie card, and his Young Gun Acetate walks up to the table.
It's crazy.
Like, there's under 20 of them ever produced, and then one walked up to the table, like, out of the blue. Like, that is just absolutely insane to me. The 9.5 Future Watch Auto patch and the inscribed that you have, those came up to the table where someone told the buyer, it might have been you and might have been someone else as well before them, but they were told, like, hey, some guys have been telling me you're the Willie guy in the room, and that's where you got to come. And so people were coming because my friends and connections, people knew that I was looking for Willie that day, and that helped me get some big cards that I've been looking for. And that's the favorite part of the hobby, is when we're helping each other out to get cards that we're looking for. Mind you, there's now a big hole in my heart. I need some Nathan McKinnon in my life. I moved on some of my big pieces. Please, I'm hunting down limited logo 2013, nasty patch. I'll pay over comp. I just need to fill this hole in my heart.
Also, I'm gonna shout out, I will be looking for legends, autos, auto patches, Hall of Famers. I'm looking for some old guys. I'm looking for their autos, on card, sticker, whatever you got. Send it my way. And also anything overall high end. I am looking to buy a lot of inventory going into the winter. Please contact both of us. If you're looking to sell anything, we can help you out. Yeah, I think that overall the expo was just, it just makes me so excited for what's to come leading into Christmas time and the holidays and then into the new year. And then we get into a whole new fresh expo season with Quebec City, Montreal, Toronto, Edmonton, Calgary this year. That is going to be an exciting one to get out to Calgary, then back to Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto again. There's just so many great shows on the docket. Hopefully get national in there again in Chicago, get down to a Dallas card show, the Nashville card show. There's so many shows that I want to expand to and explore to this year, and I think it's really just getting started.
100%. This almost feels like I always say, like, this is our Super Bowl. The expo comes around, this is our Super Bowl, what we've been training for almost, preparing for all year. And the Super Bowls happen, and it feels like we're in that like off season. But like this off season's lasted like 4 days, and now we're ready. We want more cards. We need more cards. We're addicted. We're
Yeah.
in this game. We love this game. Sports cards are so much fun to collect, trade, and exchange, and just look back on the cards that you've owned over the years. And I'm so excited for what's next. I don't know what show I'm going to be at next. Honestly, we didn't prepare past the expo. Our eyes were locked on the expo and we didn't think past that, but we will be at a show near you as soon as possible.
I will say in 2 weekends, Ottawa show, we will be there. We'll be set up, ready to go. Pokemon, sports, all the above. Come see us out there. We'll get more info on that. Anything else to touch on, really? I think we just really wanted to chat deeper about the expo and kind of everything we were seeing. I don't know about you, but I can tell you Celebrini and Bedard, they are hot as ever. That was the name we kept hearing. We didn't know who it was going to be. There's always somebody or maybe two, and it was Celebrini and Bedard were being looked for and looked for day after day. It was crazy. The comps were crazy. We saw raw Macklin Celebrinis going on eBay upwards of $300 on the Friday, Thursday night, Friday morning early. And you saw people scouring the floor looking for underpriced cards at 180, 200 and snap buying them and flipping them for 240 at the show. It's crazy to see. And that just shows if you're in touch with where the market is and really know your research and do some knowledge seeking, I think that's something that can be really useful on Thursday/Friday. One thing is Thursday slab sharks auctions. And one of the things I personally think is that a lot of people are focused on the expo, so sometimes their eyes go away from the auction that week. And I think that it's a great time to really pick up some cards, maybe if you can attend the expo, maybe some cards that go a little under comp because all the focus is on expo per se.
Yeah, that always happens. This past Thursday, we saw five Matthew Nyes Cup RPAs going at the same time, and it's the lowest we've seen those comps. So it was a good time to pick one up. And then a lot of us were able to use those comps on the Friday morning and say, hey, look at the last comp. I'll pay you full comp right here, right now. You're
Mhm.
going to be fighting against it all weekend, but if you want to move it, I'm ready. And that happened a lot for people. And that's kind of like a big game. And like you said, Matthew Celebrini, I think when the expo started, his Future Watch Auto was like $1,000, $1,200, something like that. I'm pretty sure this morning one just comped to like 27, 28,
Yeah,
like
it's the
raw.
market's on fire, and I just think we kept seeing over and over people asking for them. So I know we were looking for them all weekend, and I don't think I came back with one. I think every one that I bought, I think I bought 6 or 7 of them, but they came in and they went out faster than they came in. And I think that's something. I didn't pick up any Demidov. Did you touch any Demidov this weekend, or is it still a little too new, a little too fresh?
No, it's a little too fresh. The kid's good, don't get me wrong, but it's still a little too fresh. We're not still sure how much has been ripped, especially at the expo. So much product is ripped at the Upper Decks booth with their redemption wrapper packs. So those had definitely burst a bunch on the market. But when you look back and like you think, like I'm finding it really hard to find more Cooley Cup RPAs, Leo Cup RPAs. Like Leo's market's on fire too, and you can't find any of those cards right now because not that many people ripped it. That product was expensive because Bedard was in it, and so there's not that much on the market. So we're seeing lower pop count out of a lot of those players from that year.
For sure, and I think that's something that, we're seeing now is people who are willing to pay over comps because these cards just aren't popping up, and if they are, they're going for higher and higher each time, and as you said, I think that was a huge advantage at the Expo with maybe these outlier comps being there and people offering super low on them and not really understanding the market where maybe it was a little outlier. So I think by us offering maybe a over comp or at comp, I feel like it gave us the opportunity to pick up some really good cards at some good prices just because the market had shifted in a way. But again, you look at Celebrini and like it was the opposite of that. The market just exploded, and same with Bedard. And there was some really good deals to be found for people who bought on Thursday, I bet. If you bought Celebrini Bedard on Thursday, you were laughing Friday morning because prices just jacked up for you. And I think that was something I didn't think that Bedard was going to be super popular. I made a very risky Erie purchase on Thursday of 8 PSA 9 Bedards, and I thought I was going to be coming home with a bunch of them. I am happy to say 0 of them came home with me. So I think that's just a testament to the way that these younger guys are playing. And hopefully in the future, we can just continue to see them play well and their markets rise overall.
I think the market was so alive and moving in the room itself. There was a lot of cards that I know that moved for over their comps, and the comp would come out if it went live, but the cards aren't available and they're not being sold. And
Yeah.
like, you know, obviously there's some players that like we're very tapped in on. Like I watch the McKinnon market all the time because that's my guy. And I know that some of the movement of cards that happened in that room that were definitely highest comps there's ever been. And it's alive and well, but you would only be able to see the market move like that when you're in the room so dialed in and tapped in. And that's just kind of like the way that the hobby works in the expo. That's what makes the expo so special. But looping back to what we said about, the Slab Sharks Thursday auction is, I think we've both said it out loud, is like, is there maybe a time where Slap Sharks decides to pause on that Thursday and either run a 2 week through so it doesn't end during the expo and wait till after? Or do they just not run, like take a break for that 1 week? Or because consistently, unless during the expo that player is on fire, like Celebrini or Bedard, every other player I think came out with lowest comps that we've seen in quite some time. And that's just, is it damaging for the market? Maybe. But it would be interesting to get Karn's opinion one day, maybe when we get him on the podcast, and say, what are your thoughts when we see this happen? Like, would you guys ever consider halting for the expo because of how much the market moves in that week?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that needs to be kind of taken a look at also by us and kind of why is that? Why is the market hitting some lows at some points? But then we also see the highs of players who are playing well, as you said. So I think it's really something that we can maybe capitalize on going forward at different expos, whether that's buying on the Thursday auction stuff that goes a little bit lower than normal, or also looking as people do on the floor on the Friday after these comps come out and after things either explode or settle or whatever it may be. I just think either way, either buying or on the selling aspect, there's an opportunity there for Expo Week. So I don't know if I would want them to completely take it away, but I do like the idea of having that 2 week auction, maybe having a premier expo. And one of the cool things that they could do be in their Slab Shark setup would be have all those cards or maybe the special ones available for promotion for people to come up and see and really get an interactive experience with. And I think that's one thing that could be really cool if well done by them.
Yeah, they could make it, like low pop card type situation where it's like this any card submitted that week can't have been like sold in the last year. It's
Mm.
got to be a lower number than blank. Like it's got to be just like super, super rare stuff to find. And that you're right. Like if they had in the display some of these cards that you never see pop up that you can like see in person before they go on the show, like that would be a really cool interactive method. Slashers, I hope you're listening to this episode. Coleman just like hit a banger right there. That's like such a good marketing idea. We should be getting paid for this. They owe us. If they do this idea, they better make an appearance on this podcast. We're gonna have to talk to Karn. Karn, I'm looking for you. That's direct message. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Free marketing. Marketing's hard. Karn, we're sitting on a banger idea. I'm But yeah, I think that that wraps it up for this episode. We covered a lot. We're gonna try and line up a few guests for the next 2 months. Get you some podcasts that are a little less just us, and get you some stories going from
Mhm.
some people who've been in the hobby for a while and have some stories to tell. So we'll keep you guys posted on who's coming up, and if there's someone you want to hear from or about, you let us know. If you want to make an appearance yourself, let us know. Let's keep this hobby moving and grooving. We're buzzing. I'm so excited. That actually was so sick. Like how much we've relived it now. Like I'm just so excited.
It's an amazing experience, and thank you again to everyone from the expo, whether you were there just chatting with us, a buyer, a client, a seller, or another vendor, the organizers, just everyone who showed up and showed so much love to both of us and both of our setups. It was something that is super appreciated, and I'm counting down the days till the next expo, and it's something that I'm very excited for.
Me too. Me too. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.